Welcome back, ladies and gents. And with free agency just upon us in less than a week, actually Monday, so it's about 4 days away. I'm going to be going over my top 10 free agents heading into July 1st when the new season starts. Honorable mentions go out to Vladimir Tarasenko and Teravainen. Starting off here, number 10, I have Matt Duchene. And last season for the Dallas Stars, he just signed a 1-year, $3 million contract, kind of like a prove-it deal, I guess you can say. And he's coming off a season against Dallas where, by the way, age 33 season, he's going to be turning 34 soon. In 80 games played, he had 25 goals, 40 assists, 65 points. A pretty good season for a guy who really played on the power play too and also was between the second and third line. Really good season. And some potential teams that I could see him going. I think he does stay in Dallas. I think they're going to find a way to make a deal work. But also some other teams I listed. Longest list of the entire episode. We have Buffalo, Detroit, Colorado, Chicago, Utah, and New Jersey. I think those are all potential suitors for him. But again, like I said, I think at the end of the day, he's going to end up staying in Dallas. And number 9, I have Brady Shay. He is currently 30 years old. He is a left-handed defenseman. In 80 games, he had 13 goals, 34 assists for 47 points. Some potential teams that I have him going to, I think Carolina. Obviously, we've seen Carolina is going to pick between Shea and Pesce. I think ultimately they're going to go with Pesce if I'm not mistaken. But if Shea can get a deal done with Carolina, I think that would be huge for them. Also have teams like St. Louis, Utah, Chicago, and Detroit. A team like Detroit who has a decent amount of cap space. And Utah, Ryan Smith, the new owner, wants to go ahead and spend some money to try to make the team competitive again. And I think St. Louis could also use a guy. They have a decent amount of cap space, over $10 million if I'm not mistaken, and they don't really need to re-sign anybody. So St. Louis is a good suitor, but I'd love to see him stay in Carolina. Number 8, I have Chandler Stevenson, a UFA. He is currently 30 years old. He's a center and a left wing, a left-handed shot. 75 games played last season, 16 goals, 35 assists for 51 points and -9. I think he's 100% going to get a raise. By the way, I love Utah. San Jose, Seattle, and Carolina could also be suitors. I think Carolina could use another versatile guy like Stevenson, a second-line guy. If I'm a team, I wouldn't really want to pay him like a first-line guy. I wouldn't really want to sign him for more than maybe 5 to 6 years, and I wouldn't sign him more than $6 million, but I think he's going to end up getting $6 million, and a team like Utah and even maybe San Jose could overpay a little bit, but at the same time, San Jose already has a ton of bad contracts that are untradeable, so would they really, though, is a real question, but I think Utah and Seattle, two teams in play. Number 7, I have Patrick Kane, and he is 35 years old. He is a right wing left-handed shot, 50 games played for Detroit, 20 goals, 27 assists for 47 points. Coming off that hip surgery, only played about a little bit more than half the season, but when he played for Detroit, though, he was really good. He showed us that he still has it, and everybody's like, oh, with this hip surgery, like, at the age of 35, is he going to have it? Now, I know he's not the same player he was in Chicago, but averaging just a tad under a point per game at his age, he's shown us he still has a few more years in the league, and some potential teams I have him going to is Buffalo, Chicago, New York Rangers, Detroit, and Nashville. I think Detroit's probably more of a long shot than any of these other teams. I think Chicago would be really beneficial for Connor Bedard. Imagine a Patty Kane and Connor Bedard duo. That would be ridiculous if you ask me. In Nashville, they have a ton of money to spend. They need a top line goal scorer outside of Philip Forsberg, who, by the way, had a hell of a season, 80-plus points. Maybe he reached 90. I don't know off the top of my head, but he was in that 80 to 90-point range, looking for him to replicate it this season. But also Buffalo, going to his hometown. They just bought out Jeff Skinner, so that clears up another $7 million in cap space, $7.5 million to be exact. So what does this mean? Is this where Patty Kane comes in, plays that right wing role up there with Tage Thompson? Like, that could be a thing. In New York Rangers, of course, we all know the Rangers traded for him at the 2023 deadline. Didn't really work out with him, but he was also dealing with the hip injury. So do the Rangers try to bring him back? Is the real question. Number 6, we have Sean Monahan. He is currently 29 years old, can play all 3 forward positions. Left-handed shot in 83 games. He had 26 goals, 33 assists, 59 points. Montreal traded him to Winnipeg in the middle of the season, and he played well for Winnipeg. He had about 15 less games played in Winnipeg than Montreal and had around the same amount of points. Sean Monahan is a guy that, by the way, can win faceoffs. One of the best faceoff men in the entire league. I wouldn't call him the best, but he is one of up there. I think Winnipeg is a huge option for him. I could definitely see him going back there. Buffalo could use a guy that can win faceoffs because Buffalo has been bottom of the league in faceoffs for I don't even know how many years, but it's been a long time. Seattle, too. Moving on to our top 5, I have Tyler Toffoli leading it off here. And you might be wondering why I have Tyler Toffoli so high. Well, we said it in the podcast. I'm doubling down on what Preston said in the podcast. New episode. Go check it out after this video. But also, I think Tyler Toffoli at the age of 32, he's going to want to settle down a little bit. He's been all over the place the last few seasons. And in 79 games played, he had 33 goals, 22 assists, 55 points. And some teams that could really use some goal scoring on the wing are teams like Buffalo, Boston, New Jersey, I think is up there. Now, I get their forward core is loaded, but they have some money to spend. Look for New Jersey to be a dark horse. And, of course, Utah and Chicago. I love the Chicago pick. I think getting a guy like Toffoli on Bedard's wing, I think it's a real possibility. I would sign him to about a 4-year, $6 million contract, especially with the cap that's just going to keep going up and up and up, and all these contracts. So everybody's like, oh, it's an overpay. Not going to look like such an overpay in a couple of years. Number 4, I have Jonathan Marchessault. He is 33 years old, coming off a 40-plus goal season, so he's going to be asking for probably around $6 million if I'd say so myself, $6 to $7 million. He had 42 goals and he played all 82 games, 27 assists, 69 points. Potential teams I have him going to, teams like Vegas, Utah, Ottawa, and Detroit. I think Ottawa could be a huge player in this, same with Detroit. And with those two teams, especially Detroit, I want to get into them a little bit because if they're going to lose a guy like Patty Kane, you can bring in a guy like Marchessault who can fill in, play that top line minutes, can go on the power play 1, can put the puck in the back of the net, and also they do have some money to spend. Now, the trade they made yesterday, clearing up some cap space, they have over $30 million in cap space. You have to sign Mo Seider and Lucas Raymond. If they have enough money, which I think they will, Jonathan Marchessault is 1,000% on the table for them. Number 3, I have Sam Reinhart. In all 82 games, and he played every single playoff game as well. 57 goals, 37 assists, 94 points. He's only age 28 too, so he's going to be getting a hefty deal. Now, I do think this season was kind of an outlier, and I don't think he's going to put up the season he had, but he's still going to put up 40-plus goals. I think he just hit his prime a little bit later, and he's relatively put up 25-ish goals a season. Comes to Florida, has put up 30-plus goals multiple times, put up almost a 60-goal season this season, and to a team like Florida, Utah, Nashville, and Anaheim, and Chicago as well. I love Chicago and Anaheim to be exact. I do think Florida does eventually try to make it work. I think they will make it work. Look for a team in Chicago. Be like, listen, we need a goal scorer with Connor Bedard. We will toss you an 8-year deal worth $9 million. Get somebody that can actually play with Bedard. And I think that's what Chicago should do, whether it's Sam Reinhart, Toffoli, anybody else. But I think ultimately he does end up staying in Florida to try to run it back. Number 2, I have Steven Stamkos. He is 34 years old, right-handed shot, 79 games played, 40 goals, 41 assists, 81 points. And I have potential teams now, I think he is staying in Tampa Bay 1,000,000%. There is no way in hell Tampa Bay is going to let him walk, in my opinion. But I also have teams like Nashville and Buffalo. I think Buffalo could use a guy like him, top goal scorer, put him on the power play 1. And if you look at the Jeff Skinner buyout, the next 2 years, it's fine. I think it's like you're only paying him $2 million this season, and then next season $4 million. But then 26, 27, you're paying him $6.5 million. So is this like Buffalo be like, okay, we're gonna sign Steven Stamkos to a 2-year, $8 million a year contract? Could that be a thing too? The age of 34, I think that'd be a great deal if you're Buffalo. Nashville, they just have a ton of cap space. Again, like I said earlier in the video, go out and get a top line goal scorer, pair with Forsberg, Ryan O'Reilly, and the rest of the crew. Number 1, Jake Guentzel. He's 29 years old, can play both wings. He's a left-hander shot, 67 games played, 30 goals, 47 assists for 77 points. Some potential teams for Jake Guentzel. I think he could stay in Carolina, but I think teams like Vancouver, Chicago, Nashville, and San Jose. If he doesn't stay in Carolina, I think a Western Conference team that is middle of the pack could do it. And we saw Vancouver ended up having a huge cap dump late last night actually, with Mikheyev and Sam Lafferty went to Chicago for like a draft pick or whatever. I think a 4th, something like that. So they're clearing up cap, and now is that going to be them needing money to re-sign Lindholm, Zadorov, and Dakota Joshua? Probably, but if they don't get a deal done, though, they could go out and get a guy like Jake Gensel, get some more top-tier talent. I saw reports that there's going to be a team in on Jake Gensel that nobody's going to expect. So most likely, none of these teams are going to be in Jake Gensel sweepstakes. So we'll see. But do you guys agree with my list? Do you guys agree with all of the teams that I put out for every single one of these players? Let me know in the comment section below. And of course, if you guys stayed for the entire video, subscribe, notification bell, as well as new episodes out every single Monday at noon Eastern here, Apple and Spotify. Again, we appreciate you guys, and we'll see you guys in our next episode.